Welcome to Bonus 3, Week 1. By now, you know what a cool super tool a mask can be. You know that Photoshop plays a very big part in masking, post-processing. Week 1, I just want to introduce you to the concept of masking and to see the results of masking, the effects of masking. Lesson 2, Week 2, in all of its bonus videos, I will be unpacking specific uses for the masking tools in Photoshop. But for this Week 1 Bonus 3 video, I've made you a special list. I've made you a list of all of the mask features in Photoshop. Now get a good look at this list. You might want to take a screenshot of this list, or grab your cell phone and take a photo of this list, or you can just ask me. Send me an email and say, Rick, may I have the Photoshop mask list? And I'll send it to you as a PDF that you can hold forever, print at high resolution, and write your notes on it during Week 2. As we begin to unpack, it would be useful to have a printed copy of this list in front of you. Jot your notes. Today, it's not a big deal. I just want to introduce you to all of these features and where they are found in Photoshop. Some of this is already going to sound like review to you, but not all of it, I guarantee. So let's begin with the beginning. The first thing to know about masks in Photoshop is that any selection you make, and I just made one with one of the mask features in Photoshop, the marquee tool, any selection you make, you already know this, is a mask, is a stencil. It's the equivalent of a piece of cardboard with a hole cut in it, and where your paint, I'm going to paint now with my paintbrush, with black paint, where the paint can only go inside of the hole of the mask. It's the mask's job. Lots of that was review. But you'll notice, if you're paying attention to that list that I'm going through, the first piece of information is make a selection. It is a mask. Any selection is a mask. Undo, Command or Control on the PC, Command D on the Mac to deselect, Control D on the PC to deselect, or select menu, deselect. That's all I've done. Any selection. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. Under the select menu where I just showed you I could find deselect, it now says reselect. Oh, I accidentally deselected. Well, then you can reselect at will. Select functions often, but not always, show up under that select menu. The select menu is a mask features superstar. Lots of mask features are found there. Let me deselect and go right back up and find the next thing I would like to introduce you to. I have a layer highlighted in my layers panel. A layer, that's important. I have a layer selected, and I would like to select my second place where mask features are found. What alliteration, Ricky. Here we go. Subject. I'm holding my hands in the air while Photoshop creates a mask out of my subject. How does it know? It's artificial intelligence. But now I have a selection, a mask, around my subject. Well, same rules apply. I can only paint inside that hole. It's just a very cleverly shaped hole. Command or Control Z, undo. Well, what might I do that wouldn't get me caught or in trouble? Well, I'm going to change tools. I'm going to grab a tool called the Dodge tool. And the Dodge tool is dumbly named because it really is a brightening tool. So I'm going to paint with the Brighten tool. Dodge is brighten. Burn is darken. Dodge is brighten. Burn is darken. Let's brighten, but only inside the mask. I don't want to do it everywhere, undo, but I would love to do it right up here on the edge of his hair, on the side of the rock. Now you see I'm painting half in and half out of the mask, but the mask protects me and only lets the paint go on the inside of the mask. Command Z, undo, 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 undo. So a mask would be helpful to me in the shape of my subject. Thank you. And then I do something that restricts me to doing the something in that shape alone. I've got a large brush. It's brightening. It's brightening at 100% exposure. That may be too much, but there I brightened that boy's face. Undo. I'm going to look up. Maybe 100% is too much. Let's try typing 50%, and it'll only be half as bright. Not so bad. Undo. Go back up. You're reviewing. 25%. Ah, Goldilocks said, that might just be right. I gave you some keyboard shortcuts, didn't I? Command D on the Mac was deselect. Command D on the Mac. Control D on the PC is deselect. But I'm going to introduce you to one more keyboard shortcut, and that is when you have a selection, you have it, you don't want to deselect. I'm waiting for it to reselect my subject. I don't want it to deselect. I want it to select, but I don't want to see the dancing ants. That is Command or Control on the PC, H. Command or Control H. And the very first time you do Command H, Photoshop is going to say, wait a minute, do you want me to hide the selection? Or would you rather I hide Photoshop and let you go out and look at your desktop? Be sure that when you do that, you tell it to hide your selection. It'll be more useful to you in the future. Command or Control H is a toggle for show it to me or don't show it to me. It's still working whether you can see it or not. I don't want to see it, but then it's still selected. I could go burn inside the mask. You see it's burning inside that mask, but I don't see the dancing ants. Command Z, undo. Control Z on the PC, undo. Control Shift Z on the PC is redo. Command Shift Z on the Mac is redo. I'm just going before and after by doing Command Z, Command Shift Z, Command Z, Command Shift Z. So you could see that selecting a subject might be a valuable thing to do. Let's try another. Select menu. I'm showing you where all the selection features are found in Photoshop. Where are all of these mask features found in Photoshop? They are the fundamental functions of Photoshop. Select. You've seen subject. Let's choose sky. If I select the sky right now, it says I'm going to deselect your boy, your subject. Well, I didn't know I had my boy selected. I know because you hid the dancing ants. Oh, I'm still cool with it. Go ahead, deselect the boy and select the sky. Now my sky is selected. What might I want to do to my sky? Well, I could brighten it. I could darken it. Lots more tricks with sky. I just want you to see it becomes a mask, a selection of sky quickly. Subject in sky. Try another. Object. You do have, watch me, under, now mine is under the marquee set of tools. I'm clicking and holding on my marquee tool to see the object selection tool. Now, the object selection tool is a slippery little fellow, and on your computer, he may not be showing up in that location. Look around for that selection tool. I'm going to zoom up so you get a good look at the tool. That's the tool we're hunting for right here, the object selection tool. It may be further down on your toolbar because it's customizable. You can put it where you want. But if you just don't see it at all, no matter where you've looked, keep looking down. There are 3 dots, and that's where we can customize our toolbar. Click those 3 dots, and you can go in edit the toolbar, and you can find the object selection tool no matter what. I guarantee you it's in there or here. These are the tools that are currently in my toolbar. These are the tools that are currently not in my toolbar. And if you find the object selection tool here, you can just drag it over anywhere you want to put it, and it will show up in the toolbar. I spent a little too much time talking about that. Why? Because I found that my customers have difficulty locating their object selection tool often. I found mine. You know how to find yours, but there's my object selection tool because I'd like to select a different mask, a mask of a very specific object. Oh, what's going on? And when I use the object selection tool and I hover, or I'm not even clicking, I'm just hovering, it says, well, I found some stuff. I found a sky, I found some stuff, I found some plants, but I found, I want that rock, and it's not isolating that rock for me. But if I look at the top of my toolbars, above it says all about the object finder. And one selection choice there is another marquee rectangle or lasso, but I'm going to use the rectangle. And I'm going to say, no, the object I'm looking for is in this general vicinity. It's in this area. And the artificial intelligence kicks in and goes, oh, you must have meant that rock. I did. I'm going to leave the object selection tool. I just say, thanks. I'm going to go back and grab my move tool. But notice that that rock is now the object that's selected. The object selection tool is a mask feature in Photoshop. Are you paying attention? We did a marquee selection so far. We did a sky and subject selection so far. And now we've shown you the object selector, and we're going to unpack more of that in week 2. I just want to change something about that rock. It looks a little too bright. So maybe follow me over here on my layers panel. That layer is highlighted. That object is masked on that layer. And I'm going to look down and begin to unpack for you a very important set of pull-down menus. Down at the bottom of the layer panel. If you don't see the layer panel, Rick, I can't find my layer panel. It's under the window menu, layers. Be sure there's a check mark there and it's on your screen somewhere. If you don't see it, window menu, layers. Oh, got it. Go on, continue. I found my layers panel with a layer selected on it. And at the bottom of the layers panel, it says FX. There's a chain link. There's a hole in a piece of cardboard, and there's a chocolate cookie dipped in white icing or a white cookie dipped in chocolate icing. I don't know which it is, but it's a little circle that's half black, half white, and I'm going to hold it. And I'd like to do something. Just know that whatever something I pick right here is only going to have impact on the selection, on the mask. So let's say I do exposure. The mask is exposed. Trust me, it's the only thing. And right here, I'm seeing my properties menu became active. Now, you may not see your properties menu, but trust me, it's where all the other ones are. So if you don't see it, but you should, there, you can make sure you see it. I'm sure I see it. Yours may not be attached to the layers panel. Mine now is not attached, but it's still there. And when I ran that exposure adjustment layer, something happened, and now exposure only affects my selection, my rock. Now, since I did it as a separate layer trick, I can poke that layer in the eye, and when you get poked in the eye, you can't see. And so if I poke it in the eye, I can't see what I just did. But if I unpoke, I can see. And so clicking the eye is a way to see before and after. Either way, that's a kind of something I could do if I could isolate an area, if I could select using one of the mask tools, in this case, the object selector, the object masker, okay? Another way, and this one's a little bit odd and not as frequently used, so you don't have to memorize this, but you could use the pen tool. They call it the path. Pen tool makes a path. I wonder if there's a path panel. There is. And if you don't see the path panel, I do currently. I'm going to go click and drag and click and drag and click and drag and click and drag and go right back to where I started and click and drag. And what the path tool does is it allows me to make a selection that's editable before I use it. If I hold the command key on my Mac or the control key on my PC, I can move that shape, edit that shape in awkward ways like a little water balloon here before I decide to formally accept all that position. You can do lots of things with a path, but I'm here to tell you that a path can be made a mask. It can be made into a selection. Make the path with the pen tool. Look at your path panel, and there's a little fly out menu in the upper right, and you can make it a mask, a stencil, a selection. It's all the same. Are you sure? I am sure. Did you want to feather the edge of your selection? Do you want to fuzz it out? No, I don't. Don't feather it. Don't fuzz it out. Okay. It'll be a nice, straight edge. Now I'm going to create a new layer. I'm adding a layer, another clear piece of plastic on top of my artwork. There it is. A layer that's on top. And I'm going to get my paintbrush and I'll paint. But you see, it only lets me paint inside the mask. Good thing I put it on a new layer because I may not like what I did. I'm grateful it was on a separate layer. I may not like it so much that I want to throw that whole layer in the trash can. I'm dragging it to the layer's trash can. And even though I trashed that layer, my selection still thinks I love it and want to use it. Command or Control D, deselect. The path tool, the pen tool can become a selection. Let's make a little bit of a better one. I'm going to do my very best to make a selection around the little boy's sleeve. Now, this gives me a lot more control, you can see, than if I used, let's say, the lasso tool. And the lasso tool is a fine selection maker. It's just not as precise, you see, as a really good creation made using the path tool. There, I've got part of the sleeve. You see, just the sleeve. Man, that was a little work. And trust me, you basically just heard a pianist play the piano beautifully, and then you might sit down and try it, and it sounds horrifying. I've been using the pen tool a long time, and it is a skill it requires practice. It sure looks easy when you watch, the pianist play it on stage. But don't be hard on yourself. That's what I just did. I made a selection. And you know that I could go to the path panel and turn it into a selection, but I'm going to show you a keyboard shortcut to do that. It just saves me from going to that flyout menu. I've got a path. On the Mac, if I do Command Enter, it turns it into a selection. On the PC, if I Control Enter or Return, it makes a selection for me. Same thing. So you can use the pen tool, draw a path, Command Enter or Control Enter, and you've got that stencil saved. Well, what will I do to it? I'd like to, again, let's say, burn, but protect myself. New layer, that's good habit. New layer, burn in a specific area, or go to my original and burn directly, but notice it's inside the hole. You're starting to catch on why we might need masks often. It lets us paint inside of specific areas. Okay. We've seen several. It's time to see another, a layer mask. let me throw away my exposure layer from before. A layer mask is an eraser. I don't want to see the object. Let me show you. I'm going to use my lasso. Follow me. I'm showing you just good procedure. Create a new layer so I don't harm the existing layer. New layer. And on that new layer, it just represents a clear piece of plastic that's overlaying my photograph. I'll make an object. In fact, let's go a little further. I'm going to make an object that goes around his head and around his arm and so on. And I'm going to fill that shape, that mask, with paint. Now, I could paint with my brush, or I could edit menu, fill my mask with my foreground color. What's that? Well, down at the bottom of your toolbar, you have two colors loaded all the time. Now, those two colors change, but you've always got two. The little chip here on top is the foreground. And the chip on the back, white in this case, is the background. So right now I'm saying fill please with my foreground color or my background color or any color of my choosing. And there are other great options. But here it's saying fill it with the foreground color, but only at 50% of its strength. Don't fill with 100% black, fill with 50% black is what's happening right there. That makes total sense now that I look at it. Command D. Or Control D, I'm deselecting. Okay, what is a layer mask? A layer mask is another mask feature. Obviously, it's in the name. But what it really does, layer mask, it's an eraser. A layer mask is an eraser, and we're going to show you specifics in the second week. But right now I'm showing you where it's found. I have a layer highlighted. Down at the bottom, it looks like there's a hole cut in a piece of cardboard. That's it. Add layer mask. Click it. If nothing is selected when you add a layer mask, you get a nice mask filled with whiteness. Pure white says you can see everything. There's no eraser. There's no erasure going on yet. But the way the layer mask works, if you paint, I'm grabbing my paintbrush, with black, then it feels like you're erasing. It feels like I'm erasing. Yeah, look, I'm erasing. It feels like I'm erasing, doesn't it? But at the bottom of the toolbar, you can flip. And now you're painting with white on a layer mask, not on my artwork, not on the layer part of the artwork, but on the layer mask. How do I know? Well, you'll see you've got these little brackets showing up around the mask instead of the artwork. Be sure that you're on the mask. And then when you paint with white, it unerases. Things come back. Oh my. And I can have all kinds of fun with that on my mask. This is so fun, watch. I could paint with a gradient from white, the part I can see, to black, the part I can't see. Why? Because I've got those two colors loaded, from white to black, from I can see where the white stuff is to I can't see where the black stuff is. So I'm going to do a gradient from I can see on this side of that layer, and I'm dragging, but I can't see by the time it gets to the boy's face, and when I let go, it has masked that layer art. That's heavy duty, but I'm letting you know where it's found. Layer masks, I'm going to throw them in the trash. A layer mask shows up when you have a layer highlighted, new layer. I'm going to make a big black blob. That new layer on that blob on that new layer has a layer mask. That's where it's found. That's what it looks like. How does it work? You paint with white on the mask where you want to see it, and you paint with black. I'm switching. You paint with black where you don't want to see the art. It's temporary. I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. X, 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 X changes the foreground color for the background color. X, X, X. And on a layer mask, therefore, it feels like a light switch. You can't see when it's dark outside, inside the house. You can't see when it's pitch black. So when you paint with pitch black, you can't see the layer art. But light switch, X, I just turned on the lights. And now when I paint with white, oh, when the lights are on, I can see perfectly. There's a big black worm in my house. I turned the lights on and I saw it. But if the lights are out, X, I just hit the light switch. I can't see the black worm in my house. Why? Because the lights are out. We'll shine a light on it, X, and paint with white. And wherever the light shines, so will the shape itself. You'll see it. Oh, that's fantastic. I can't wait to show you in week 2 what to do with it. But now you know where it's found. I'm looking at my list, the same list that you're going to have in front of you. All those marquee tools, just don't forget, they have several, right? The rectangular marquee tool. We have an oval or elliptical marquee tool. We have 2 marquee tools I never use. You probably never will either. Then why are they there? I don't know. Ask Adobe. The single row marquee and the single column marquee. Let me just show you what it is and tell you why I never use it. I'm going to go click and it selects an entire single row of pixels all the way across. I don't know why. Or a single column all the way up wherever you click. It's a very thin mask, isn't it? And maybe if I had a really ugly, awkward single pixel that was darker in my way, or a strip of pixels, I could use that to make a selection. I just think there are better ways. The marquee tools, their selection functions. There is something called a quick mask. Another tool Rick Burris doesn't use, but it's in there and you may love it. And it's at the bottom, near the bottom at least, of your toolbar. Look at the toolbar. At the very bottom is not what I'm talking about, but second from the bottom is the quick mask. Edit in quick mask mode. The shortcut is Q for quick mask. But I'm going to click it. And then whatever I do, it thinks it will be masking. Painting with black will be the protected areas, the mask. I'm going to hit X, light switch. But painting with white creates a hole. It's showing you the mask not in black and white, as is often the case, but as I showed you in the first bonus video, sometimes the mask can show up in red. And with quick mask, that's what it does. You could quick mask and do your very best to create a quick mask, a quick protection area, and then change tools. Make paint, for example, do whatever you want outside of quick mask. I left the quick mask by clicking the button again, but my mask just showed up. Now, it's not saved anywhere. We've learned that's not good. It's not very precise. We've learned that's not good, but it is a way to make a mask. Adobe claims quickly. That's the quick mask button, a quick mask tool. The magic wand tool, however, is what most newbies, what most novices attempt early. It's quick. It's quicker than quick mask. It's just not good at all. It's very imprecise. The magic wand, I'm going to click it and click the sky. Well, part of the sky. Click again, another part of the sky. Well, click again and again and again. Now there are ways to make it useful, more useful. It's just not very high quality, so I don't use it very often, if at all. Now, just so you know, if you hold the Shift key, you can keep clicking and it will add to it the little parts that it missed. You can continue to click, Shift click, and eventually you might get something useful out of it. Command D, deselect. It's on there. Under or in the same apartment as the magic wand is, they sure love this word quick, don't they? Quick selection tool, and it lets you click and drag around an area. Maybe that's it. Quick selection tool. Quick selection. Yeah. Not very high quality, especially when I've already discovered these days I have a subject selector that's quick, very precise, and I think that's quicker than playing around with those others. More on that later. I'm introducing you to all the masking functions in Photoshop. There is a very clever little select menu mask feature that's advanced, and it's called Select and Mask. I would use it, and I would call it the better haircut. It's a better haircut selector. You have to have a selection to begin with. I do. I use the subject to select. Then the Select and Mask little mini application kicks in, and I can see what it's trying to do. It says, here's what I've got, Rick. That looks great to me, honestly. But what it lets you do is get even better hair. We'll spend some time on it in week 2. But even better hair, I'm clicking and dragging around the parts where it didn't do an amazing job on the hair. That hair was pretty fuzzy. I'm done. And then I say OK at the bottom. And it created for me a duplicate layer. I see 2 layers. And the duplicate layer was delivered amazingly and magically with its own layer mask. Which means what? It means it's not permanent. If there's a part I missed or I want back, that layer mask, that eraser is still there. So how did that work? I'm trying to remember. It was only 5 minutes ago. Well, I could paint with lights on and I could see more of my original. Now that's not bad. Command Z, undo. Or I could see less by turning the light switch, X change. Now I'm painting with black. And I didn't want to see this area. Now, did I just permanently remove that child's arm? No. I have a mask. A layer mask. It's temporary eraser. All right? I want to see my background, my original, but just know that there's a copy of the boy perfectly cut with a great haircut floating as a second copy on top. Well, what would that let me do? We'll see more in week 2. But for now, I'm going to grab the layer that's on the bottom. And the layers that are on the bottom are actually the layers, if you tilted them towards you, that are on the back, on the bottom. And so the layer that's in the back, covered by the mask of the boy, the layer on the bottom, I might run that adjustment layer of exposure. Remember, I was looking for that properties panel. There it was. And I'm darkening. But see, I'm darkening the entire layer below the copy. I turned off the copy, turned on the copy, turned off the copy, turned on the copy. That's advanced. We'll see more of that in week 2. I'm going to throw those layers in the trash because they're just temporary. They don't have permanent impact. That's good in Photoshop, by the way. Text as a mask we talked about quickly in our bonus video earlier this week. I'm going to click and I just have this crazy redness and I'm going to type Jack. Jack. I'm typing text. Temporarily, I can select the text. I can look under for my character. That means text panel. The characters themselves. I can change the font, the size, until I'm happy. If I change tools, I'm going to grab my Move tool. The mask is set. Now don't try to move the mask with the Move tool. If you try to move the mask with the Move tool, look in there really close and tight, As soon as you get over the mask with the move tool, you get a pair of scissors, and it thinks you want to cut it out. Well, I might, but I don't. I don't want to cut it out. So you cut it out. Photoshop, stop doing that. If you have a mask and you don't want to cut it out, but you'd like to move where it's placed, choose any of these marquee tools or lasso tools, either one, and when you come inside, it'll just be a little mask mover. I just want to move it around. There's Jack. What am I going to do with that mask? I'll give you an example. I'm going to create a new sheet of plastic on top of my photo and protect the original Jack photo. New layer. I'm going to edit menu, fill. You've already done this once. Fill with my, this time let's say background color, which is, white. 50%, fine. 100%, okay, whatever. I'm picking it. There it is, Jack. And he's on a new layer. Now that he's on a new layer, the move tool will work fine. I can move it anywhere I want. Jack. 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 All right, let's do that. Watch me play. What layer am I on? I generated the text layer with a text mask tool. Type as a mask. I did it. Good etiquette. Good exercise to create a new layer before you start painting. I did. But now I'm going to select the original photograph. Watch. Use it to select my subject. That's Jack. I let it do all the work on that layer. It found Jack. But I'm going to take that selection, that mask, back up to my type. It's back on my type layer. Now I have a selection, but I'm on my type layer. Look, if I add a new layer mask, see where I'm clicking at the bottom of the layer. If I add a new layer mask, the add new layer mask, if you have a selection loaded already, thinks you just want to see Jack, the text, but only inside that shape, that selection. Wow. What? Undo. Let me see it again. If a selection is loaded and you're on artwork and you add a layer mask, it thinks you only want to see what's inside of it, nothing outside of it. Oh. I wish I had an alternative. I wish I had another option. You do. On the PC, if you hold the Alt key, alternative, when you click that button, it'll do the opposite. I wish I had another option. You Mac users are saying, yeah, hold the Option key, Mac users, when you click the layer mask button, and it will do the opposite. It says, I don't want to see inside, I want to see outside. Now it looks like the word Jack is behind Jack. Little trick. Anyway, I showed you how to find the text masking function. There is, let's go look at another image. There are other selection or masking tricks like this. Select a color range. Let's select a color range. That's nice. Right in here, right over here. As I click around, notice what's happening in this little black and white preview. Whatever I click on, it's showing me a mask, the white parts and the black parts. And I can hold the Shift key and say, well, I want the light purples, Shift key, and the dark purples, Shift click. I don't want this black thing. Option or Alt click will subtract, and you're watching that happen on your mask. You can do that with Shift or Option, or you can play with the amount slider. They call that fuzziness. But you can see what I'm getting is a mask around the purple stuff. That was handy. How did we do it again? Select a color range. Now in this case, like I just did with the word Jack, I already have a selection. And if I have a selection and I add a layer mask, it's automatically only going to keep that piece. If I Alt or Option click the layer mask, it's going to flip. You know that, we've seen it. But look what happens when I create an adjustment layer. I thought you wanted a layer mask, Rick. Well, I might, but adjustment layer for changing my hue. And when you do that, it gives you a separate layer with a layer mask attached to it. It's very curious. I can change the hue of that layer. And because it's its own layer, I could dial the opacity up or down, the amount of that color pop. What are you saying? You can get a layer mask when you want one, right here. But whenever you choose an adjustment layer, Adobe gives you one. It comes free. It's inside the package, just so you know. Let's throw that away. There's another trick. Let's throw this away. I've got my original photo and I have an area selected. I don't have it separated on a separate layer. I just have it selected. I'm going to show you another keyboard shortcut with a mask, with any selection, with any mask from any layer. If you want it separated, you just tell it to jump. You're going to need to write it down. You're not going to find it in a menu. Command J on the Mac says jump. And now it jumped it up to a new layer. PC users are going, wait, what is it for me? Control J, jump. It takes your selection, whatever's selected, and Command or Control J, it jumps a copy to a separate layer. Now let me hide my bottom layer. Sure enough, all the purple parts are separated. They jumped. What's all that? What's that checkerboard doing back there? The checkerboard says, I'm not paint. I'm nothing. It's transparency. Well, why isn't it white? Because in Photoshop, white is something. It's white. It's opaque white paint. So they're trying to show you with transparency that that's actually nothing. Good. The only something are these little purple flower parts. Watch what I do. I'm going to create a new layer on top of all of it. And I'm going to grab a different color. Let's see. Window menu. You can play along. This is pretty simple. I would like to see window menu, my color. And you're going to get several color picking choices. I can play with sliders to pick a color. I can click around on the rainbow to get a color. I can choose a color from swatches. I grabbed a horrible pink. There it is. I've got a layer above, piece of plastic completely filling my screen. Edit menu. Fill with the foreground color. I just loaded it. It's pink. At 100%, please. Why, Rick, did you do it? Because I'm about to show you another kind of mask. It's an oddity, but I love it. I adore it. That layer is filled with pink. Layer menu, follow me. Create a clipping mask. Please clip all the pink stuff to the layer shapes below. Mask my pink using the layer below the pink as the mask. Wow. Now the pink is still everywhere. But when I said create a clipping mask, and we'll learn more in week 2, it indented that layer with an arrow pointing down, letting you know I'm sticking to it. And the it layer that it's sticking to just got an underline, and we'll talk about it next week. Poke it in the eye. I don't want to see that pink. Good, it's gone. I do want to see it. Poke it again. But see how it's sticking to whatever the artwork was below. And you'll learn that in order to make it look a little bit better in my Photoshop course, that there's something called normal, which is anything but normal. It's opaque, but you can choose different ways that that hot pink layer plays with the layer below. And one of those ways is called hue, and its close friend, color. Hue and color just take any layer and they only apply the hue value or the color value to the layer below. It looks more natural instead of flat, opaque pink. It overlays that pink and just exchanges the hue. Okay, one day we'll learn all that, won't we? But for now, I'm teaching you where all the masking functions are found. And there was one called the clipping mask. Release it. I'm going to, but I want you to look at the layers panel when I do. When I release the clipping mask, three things are going to happen. The arrow pointing down is going to go away. The indent is going to not be indented. And the underline currently on layers 1 is going to disappear. The indent's going to go, the arrow's going to go, and the underline's going to go. Here we go. There is a big bunch of pink, and it is only exchanging the hue below it. And there's a keyboard shortcut to do the clipping mask. I'll show it to you. I've been going to the layer menu to do it, but if you hold the Alt or Option key, Alt or Option, and click between two layers, it turns on or off that clipping mask trick. Option click between the two layers or Alt click between the two layers activates a great feature called the clipping mask. The clipping mask. I think we're done with the boy. Let's take a look at another couple of images. This will be good. I introduced you in the first bonus video to a very odd creature called the unsharp mask. Filter menu, sharpen. I want to sharpen my rows, just not the thorns. I want to sharpen my rows, and as I look at this, I decide that maybe unsharp doesn't make any sense, but I told you it's the one that makes sense. It's a mask. It's an unsharp mask. You and I won't see the mask. We'll only see the results. But let's take a peek. Before I run it, get a good look at my rows. It's good looking. It's good looking rows. I like it. It's got a lot of detail in it, little water drops and things. It's quite nice. Get a good look at it. Now we're going to run the mask. Sharpen using the unsharp mask. I'm done. I'm just going to say okay here. Now I want you to look at my rows. A moment ago you looked at it and it looked fine to you. Right now it's probably going to look more fine to you, but it's going to take you a while to sort that out in your brain. It just sharpened all the fine details of an already great photo. Let me undo and show you where we were just a moment ago. Command Z. Redo. Look at the difference. That's unsharp mask result. And that's the original. To me, the original now looks soft. So I run unsharp mask to sharpen my best photos. I sharpen the areas that I want people to pay attention to, just like you would with focus on a camera. Unsharp mask is not for everything. It's for the parts you want to make the heroes for your viewer. It uses a mask behind the scenes to generate that beautiful sharp, not unsharp, image. That's the unsharp mask. Now, there's another very slight, I almost never use this tool, but I'm going to introduce you to it. You have a panel called Shapes. And the Shapes panel has all sorts of free shapes. These aren't typical pixel-based shapes. These shapes have all been drawn with the pen tool. They are vector shapes, wild animal shapes. Ooh, that's scary. Boats, that sounds good. Let's go grab a sailboat shape. There it is. I've got a little menu item of boat shapes, and I'm going to click and drag a boat shape out into the ocean behind my bride, and I can move it around. and I can scale it without losing any quality. There it is. And when I look at my layers, I see in fact that there's now a sailboat layer, but it has a little rectangle with anchor points in its corners. That reveals to me that it's actually a vector. It's art. And I can change the color. Let's grab dark blue. I hit enter on my keyboard. Dark blue. Oh, it went blue. Wait a minute, green. Oh, it went green. Wait a minute, gray. It went too gray, light gray. That's not bad. All right, so it's a shape, but it's also, trust me, a mask. And if I'll show you later, week 2, there's another shape that I can use as a stencil. But this shape is actually made up of pen path pixels. And a pen path can be edited. It can be edited. So they drew me a sailboat. I couldn't draw a sailboat. This is me destroying a sailboat. But it's as if I drew it myself with the pen tool. And I can use that as a mask later on. I told you I don't use this. It's in the category of quick mask for me. But I want you to know it's there. It's another place where you can have a functional mask using another area of Photoshop called shapes. I'm going to show you 2 more places and we'll be done with the bonus video. One, I'm going to show you fast and talk about it later. Under the filter menu, there's something called Camera Raw Filter. And in Camera Raw Filter, you have the mask panel that we have already noticed in some earlier uses of Bridge and Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom. So I can use masks just like I do in those apps right here in Photoshop as well. I've just selected my subject. My subject has been selected. It's another place I can come to use masks, but we're going to unpack that in a separate video completely later. So now, last big place where mask functionality is found. It's mind-blowingly cool. If you've been using Photoshop your whole life, you probably don't even know this exists. It's that buried, but that awesome. Check it out. I'm going to open a separate image for now. Let's see. Open. What do I want? I would like to open Mail Pouch Wide. It's just an old sign for some old ad for some old tobacco product that I saw driving by a barn in Kentucky, United States of America. This barn in Kentucky had a big mail pouch advertisement on the side of the barn. Well, this barn didn't, but I saw one while I was driving, and I got back home and I wanted to fake that look in the big faker itself, Photoshop. Now notice what I've got here. I've created a new layer, okay? So here's my artwork, but I've already told you it's good practice to put your new paint on a separate layer, new piece of plastic. So new layer, buried, filter menu. I really want my veteran Photoshop users to pay attention right now, because you may think there's nothing new to learn. Oh, here we go. Filter, vanishing point. And the vanishing point allows me to create a grid. There's a grid tool. It lets me create a grid that matches the perspective already found in this barn photo. It's not square. Well, it was built square, but because of perspective, it looks like it goes back in space. Just so you know. I'm back on my arrow tool here. Now I'm going to paste. Command V or Control V. I pasted the last thing I copied. You know, that mail pouch advertisement. I want to show you the last most amazing function of a mask in Photoshop. Grab that thing I just pasted. And what is a mask really? It protects me, doesn't it? It allows my effect to only occur inside of itself. Well, I want you to know that these vanishing point grids are masks. Watch what happens when I drag my pasted artwork into one of those grids I drew. What is going on? Well, lots is going on, but let's talk about the obvious. It's only letting the artwork I pasted show up inside of a mask, inside of the shape. But the vanishing point grid also allows it to wrap. Oh my gosh. It's, in essence, a three-dimensional grid. I'm going to go grab a tool in this little panel that lets me transform or resize. And I'm resizing the artwork that I pasted, and notice it still wraps. All right, my mind is blown. I'm going to say, okay. What's the takeaway there? Vanishing point grids are also masks. If you were wise and you created a new layer before you did all that crazy stuff, it's isolated on its own mask. I can poke it in the eye and see before and after. I could dial the opacity up or down. It's starting to look like it did when I drove by in Kentucky. I could also change the blending mode from normal to hue to overlay. Starts to look real. And play with opacity. One thing upon another thing upon another thing. And it's this exponential addition of effects. I've only done 3. Vanishing point, blending mode, and overlay, but it results in these wildly professional looking images. That's it for bonus video 3. If I were you, I'd watch it again. You don't want to hear me sit here and say it all again, but you probably want to go back and watch it again with your printed list so that you can jot your notes. You might even look at the video itself and on the notes say, wow, at minute 2 plus 12 seconds is when he started talking about the object selection tool. You might put a little timeline there. I don't know how great a note taker you are, but this video is worth seeing where all the Photoshop masking tools are found. In Lightroom, they're easy to find, quick. In Bridge and Camera Raw, they're easy to find, quick. In Photoshop, they are not easy to find. I've just taken you on a golden tour of all of them. Little commentary. Why aren't they organized? Why are they all over the place? Because Adobe is a very old app, relatively speaking. And if you had a new home, you'd move in and everything would be right where you put it. But Photoshop has been lived in for a long time. And so there are junk drawers and there are remnants of old features, even as they've added new features. And they're everywhere, actually. They're scattered. I don't know, I have to confess, you probably do too. Do you have a junk drawer? I've got a junk drawer, and I look through them every now and I go, oh, there that is. That ought to be in an organized place, but I've lived here a while, and so I've kind of got some clutter. Unfortunately, for a new user, Photoshop has masking features, but they're cluttered. They're everywhere. So today I just opened all the drawers, and you look inside. There is, to the best of my knowledge, no other masking tool in Photoshop. You've seen them all. And in week 2, we're going to learn how to use them all in Photoshop.